Hi, I'm Debbie Lucci from William Ravis Realtors, and I'm here today with Matt Witte. I have my own team, and so does Matt. And today we're going to talk about pricing. How do you price a home in this market? Matt, when you go out to look at a house, what are some of the things that you're looking for when you're pricing a home? I think it's so tricky in this market now.
I think the first thing I look at, especially in town, is if it's on a busy road and what is that going to do to the price? Like that's one of the biggest things is where that house actually sits. Is it up against a highway? Is it up against power lines? Is it up against a swamp? So before we even get into the inside the house, that's the first thing that I'm checking.
Right, right. So I had a house on a busy street, and I always said I had more privacy because I was on a busy street. Nobody was coming down the cul-de-sac looking at what I was doing. I just I slipped in the garage, and I had all the privacy in the world. So it's kind of you can play that side too. So I think a lot of it. I think it's so hard because it's the timing. We're going back to a seasonal market that we didn't have before. So like COVID, it was just like straight all the way through. And now we're hitting that seasonal market, and it's going to depend on when that house comes on the market. And then I think one of the things that I look really closely at is what right now, if this house hits the market tomorrow, what is the competition? What is the square footage? What is the condition of that property? How long has that property been on the market? Okay. And then some of the problem with that is the property hasn't sold. So you really don't know, is that house priced well or is it not? And then I look at what just went under agreement. How long did it take to go under agreement? Did it go under quickly? So it might have gone over asking, or has it been sitting out there for a while? Did it take a price adjustment? How fast did it go under after the price adjustment? I think the big thing I look at too is like days on market. How long has the competition been on days on market? I think that's very, very important. I think that'll give you a key idea. Um, and then, then I go into the property, and I mean, I think it's right from when you walk up the walkway. You're looking at, and I know a lot of people go in the garage, they don't even look at the front walkway, but that's where the buyer is going to look. So I look, is this home maintained from the outside? What does the outside look like? I mean, is it chipping like crazy? Is the masonite, puffing? Things like that. So I kind of do a little, walk around the property. And then what updates does it have? So, I mean, too, you have to look at, I was just talking to one of my girls today. We were talking about pricing. What's the shape of the roof? What's the shape of the furnace, the windows, the AC units, the hot water tank? So I know, like when you go in Boston, they do a lot of per square foot price. But I think in the suburbs, it's just so different. You're going to have a pricing difference for, in-town properties opposed to like Weston Andover. And that's why I think it's so important to have a local realtor that really knows the market. I mean, what's the hot school in town now? Before it used to be, Sanborn, then it was South. Now it's gone over to Bancroft, so it's all a little bit different. So I think, you know, I think you've got to look at the condition of the property, exactly where it's located. I think, how much you take off if the house is backing up to a highway, things like that, busy street. Um, and then I think how well it's maintained, the upgrades, and then the location. Where is it in town? There's a difference between in-town property and if you've got to cross over 125.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a house in Bancroft District, closer to town, that's going to be a little bit more desirable than having to go past 125, and that will affect the price on that. So it's not so black and white. I think pricing a home is still one of the most challenging things to do.
Yeah, it's kind of an exciting thing too, because I'll send them the CMA prior to going to the house, marketing plans, here's some of the comps, but I don't know what that house really looks like. So I have the idea of, all right, at the high end, low end, all right, are the bathrooms done? Is the kitchen done? Sometimes they tell you ahead of time, sometimes they don't. Or even worse, they tell you they redid the kitchen and you walk in and you're like, when? And they're like, yeah, 15 years ago. And it's just really not what the buyers are looking for right now. Like the white cabinets everybody wants, but back then it might have been cherry cabinets, which are great, but, some people don't want them. And, it's you got to be able to come up with that price in a very short amount of time. That's the way I see it. I want to give them a price before I walk out the door.
Right. And you know what it is too? It's critical. A price can make or break the house. When you price that house, if you've got great marketing behind it, you misprice that house. That's one of the worst things you can do on that house. And I always hear a lot of sellers say, well, Debbie, I can come down, I can't go up. Not really. You're going to be sitting on that market, and what happens is the days on market accumulate, and then you're like, okay, I can come down in price now because I'm not selling. Now I know I'm overpriced. And then what happens is, you've got people that are younger and they're really used to things going on and off the market so quickly that even if that house is sitting on the market for like 14 days, which is not long at all, they think there might be something wrong with it. I think you really have to look at like, what are the local market condition? Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a neutral market? What are the list to sell ratios typically on houses right now? I know a lot of sellers, what they do is they look at that price, what the house sold for, but they really need to look at what that house was listed for and what time of the market it came on. All right. So is there a difference when you put your house on the market, let's say in, early spring in comparison to July 4th week? Yeah,
Yeah.
there is.
Oh,
In the
yeah.
Yeah, we've gone back to a seasonal market. I mean, the spring market is over by July 4th, and people have their mind on other things. I think still they've been so cooped up that they really enjoy traveling and things like that. So there's a big difference, and I think it's hard that if you've got a listing coming on when that market is shifting into another seasonal market, to convince that seller, no, don't look at that market that just hit, because if you do, you might overprice your house. So, I think that you've got to really look at what price was that house listed at to get that sale price.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
one of the key things too is I think if you have great relationships with the other realtors, it's nice that you can kind of call them and say, how did you do on this house here? And if they feel solid about the deal, they'll usually say, went for around this. Don't say anything yet, but and then you have an idea of how it did. So it helps you price your customer's house well. But
Yeah, that's a really good point that we don't stress, I think, enough is the cooperation within town. Um, and I know you have it. And I listed a house on Walcott, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, and just 5 or 6 doors down, a Coldwell banker had listed. And we both happened to have run into each other at an open house. And we both happened to be chatting, like we both have something coming on Walcott.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we both agreed we are not coming on the same week. And we had talked privately, and hers was ready to go where ours was not quite ready. So she came in, listed, they did very well.
yeah.
All the buyers that didn't get it came to ours, and we did very well. And it was a really cool thing that we weren't competing against each other.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I know the agent you're talking about. She's one of my
yeah,
favorite agents. She always has been.
me too. I want to name drop her, but I don't know if I should. So
Yeah, I like her. So yeah, she's smart.
she
She's
is.
smart. You guys both worked together, and you both did well with your sellers, and that was great. Yeah, you
Yeah,
could have been killing each other on the street, and it could have affected the sale price for both of you. So it was
totally.
really, yeah, it was really great. I mean, that's one of the huge advantages of working with a local agent that has good connections.
Yep,
Um,
for sure. And I did get a lot of calls when we were under from people that were, I'm listing one on Walcott this summer. I'm listing one down the street off of Morton, so on and so forth, which is good. We want all the data so we don't make a mistake, make the best, give our seller the best option to get the most offers, best contingencies and everything else.
right. And so think about it. Okay. All right. So we do a lot of strategies before the house hits the market. We do a lot of marketing. We have a lot of strategies behind what we do. So picture, for example, if you like opened a restaurant tomorrow and you just opened it and you didn't say anything to anybody, and you'd be sitting there and there'd probably be no line outside the door that nobody would really know about it. So if you have the opportunity to do coming soon advertising and really have a strategy, for, a week or two out there and let everybody know about it. The next thing you know, you get a line out the door in comparison to, you just throw it on the multiple listing service and do no pre-marketing at all. So I think that affects the price as well,
It
and
does. And the best
yeah,
companies in the world do it. Like Apple will say, like a commercial, like a 10-second that they'll show the iPhone, the new one, and then they'll just cut out. And you're like, oh, what was that? If you
right,
happen to be shopping for a new phone. And all companies do that, right? Like, oh, the release is coming.
right.
We do it in a
Right.
little bit less dramatic fashion, but the best companies in the world do it. So we know to do it.
Right. So it is really in the seller's best interest to really look at the timing on the market and really talk to a local real estate agent about the best times to um, list their property. And it's never too early. It's the ones that wait till the last minute, have to put the house on. It's kind of a mess. They haven't prepared it. It's better for people to kind of prepare ahead of time. All right. So let's just say you're not going to sell for 2 years. There's nothing wrong with having somebody over, okay, and saying, okay, what do you think I should invest in that will get me the best bang for the buck? And then also, let's talk about timing. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with the economy. Okay, we had trees, massive trees come down in Andover the other
Mm,
day. We can't predict all these gas explosions and all these things that have happened in Andover.
right.
But, it's just, if we can generalize and say, like, typically, this is a great time of the year to come on. There's no competition at this time. I still do think that that early spring market. Like when people
Mhm.
say to me January, and I'm like, yeah, January's great. I mean, people are bored stiff because the holidays just finished. There's nothing on the market. It's a perfect time to come out. But if
Yep.
you prepare ahead of time a little bit, you get your outside pictures taken maybe in the fall.
Yep.
So you're the only one that's got these great pictures up in January and everybody else has dead grass. So,
Yep.
it's just a little preparation for these small things that I think can really help the price of a house and give it more exposure.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. The pictures in January are horrible. And if you have them in your back pocket, goodness, it makes that listing look so much better.
It really does. We did that on 39 Hawkins. So 39 Hawkins, the backyard looked like an estate. I mean, oh my God, you'd vacation out in the backyard. It was private, the big pool, the beautiful lawn, the shrubbery, the whole thing. Well, they had something, they were trying to do something with the lot next door, and some turtle was holding them up. Who knows? Okay. And so they weren't ready. They had to keep going through the town. And by the time they were ready, it was February. And I swear those pictures we took of that backyard sold that house in February. I
Yeah.
swear. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was that pictures of that backyard were all over the internet, everywhere. Big
Look
drone
so much
shots
better.
everywhere.
Yeah. Huge difference.
It does. So, I think pricing a home is difficult, but I think there's some things that the sellers can do to kind of prepare ahead of time to get the best price. I mean, we can't always, we don't know what's going to happen with the economy all the time. We don't know what's going to happen with the interest rates all the time. All we can do is keep educated. And I think you and I do that a lot. We both listen to a lot of things. We coach with a lot of people. We want to keep our ears to the grindstone there to know what's going on. But, you know, when it's ready, we can tell you way ahead of time exactly what to do to get the best bang for that house. And it's usually small things. It's not
Yeah.
really huge things.
Yeah. Definitely. And let's do a little scenario because I'm sure you've dealt with this before. I know I have. So a seller brings you in and you show them your great marketing plan and everything you're going to do, and then you say, "I think we should list at 1.1. That's going to be the best price to potentially drive the price higher, get the best terms, all those things in between." And then the seller said, well, Debbie, I thank you so much for your evaluation, but I see, Zillow says it's 1.2, so we're $100,000 apart. Um, so I don't understand why. And my neighbor's house sold for this, and my other neighbor sold for this, and
Yeah.
so what's your response to that? Because I know personally I hear it a lot. I'm sure you've heard it at some point.
I think it's one of the hardest things to wrap your brain around when you're a seller. It's hard to be, impartial to the decision. I think I see when real estate agents sell their own house, they're the worst sellers, because they can't detach from it. You know, I actually, I hired someone to help me price my own home. I didn't want to be off that because I knew emotionally I loved that house.
Totally. And I already told you that you and Peggy are coming over to give me individual pricing on mine because I won't be able to do it.
Yeah, it's difficult. So imagine if you were a seller and you see all these things and you're not involved in it every day of the week. So I think what you really got to do is you got to sit down and try to be open minded. I mean, I bring all the comps out. We look at the active under agreement sold, look at when they hit the market, how long they were on the market. We flip through pictures and we look at, okay, this was updated and this was not updated. We go through all of that. We break down square footage, how much was in the lower level, how much was in the first and second floor, then which house has probably a little bit more desirable location that's going to command a little bit more money. So if they, when was the last time Zillow was in your house? Zillow's
That's a
not in your house.
that's a
Right.
great response. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times what happens is I see Zillow, use Lawrence as comps sometimes because we're right over the border. So, I mean, Zillow is just computer driven. It doesn't really know. And if you've got a seasonal market with things changing, Zillow can't change fast enough.
Yeah.
And you don't want to just listen to Zillow. But I think what it is as a seller, you have to try to be open minded because, you know, if you list with us, we're going to control the marketing of your property. Okay, we're going to give you the best advice we possibly can. We don't control pricing. That seller controls pricing.
Hmm.
We don't control condition. That seller controls condition. It comes down to price, marketing, condition. Those
Hmm.
three things when you're selling your home. And we have control out of one out of three. We're going to advise you, but if you hit that wrong and those days on market accumulate, first you're new and exciting, and then you're old and boring within 2 weeks. That's how fast it happens. And you don't want to be old and boring because now what's going to happen is you're losing your bargaining power. Okay, they're going to come in and they're going to do a home inspection. They're going to pick you apart during home inspection. They may have financing. They may say, "Oh, this is now subject to an appraisal." Okay, where maybe before you could have gotten somebody to wipe out the appraisal.
Yeah.
Okay, you're losing all your bargaining power. You want to be new and exciting. You want everybody to want you. That's what you want. You don't want to be that old boring house like, oh, not that house again. You know,
Totally.
right.
Yeah. And
That's going to make
you have the right, and you have the right to counter offer as a seller. So if you list at a 1.1 and you think Zillow says 1.2 and you think it's worth 1.2, and they all flood in and everything works, you can always counter offer. I mean, you don't have to accept anything.
no, no. You don't have to do anything if you don't want, you
Yeah,
know. But right now, what a great seller's market. Unbelievable.
it
You know,
really
you've got such a huge buyer pool of, young millennials out there. I mean, like I think I told you last week that a seller thought the market was terrible. I'm like, not for a seller, it's not. It's great right now for a seller. The absorption rate is like less than a month in
Yeah.
Andover, North Reading. It's a seller's market.
It's amazing what people will buy. And I mean, I've seen seller statements that we've listed properties and things that would horrify buyers years ago. They're just acknowledging, okay, oh, you have unpermitted bathrooms. Okay, I'll sign that. Oh, okay, you had termites. Okay, well, at least it's there. At least they know that, sellers up front. But I'm thinking years ago, this would never fly.
And you know what, Matt? In a tough market, those houses that backed up to those highways, they had a real hard time selling. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have a hard time selling now. You
No.
know, no. So
No.
it's totally different. So I think you know I know that's one of the hardest things to really look at, but you've got to really look at everything:
Yep.
actives, under agreements, sold, timing, square footage, condition, location, and also like you've got one opportunity to come out new and exciting. Okay. You want to make sure what happens if this house goes under agreement with the wrong buyer and then it goes back on the market.
Mm-hmm.
You've lost your momentum.
Yep.
What's wrong with that house? That
Can
poor house could be the nicest house in Andover.
can never ever ever recreate that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, that was a really good advice for sellers that are thinking about potentially listing and how to price it. And it's clear Zillow is not as great as they are and what they do. They're a great tech company. They are not local agents that are able to price from Arizona or wherever they are. I think they're in Arizona. So I'm Matt Witte, William Ravis Real Estate, 978-273-0099. And you can reach me at wittesellshomes.com. And Debbie, how do they reach you?
My phone number is 978-771-9909. And my website is wherehomesgetsold.com.
Okay, awesome. And we'll see you next week.